Hi everyone, Graham Couch here from the Lansing State Journal along with my colleague Chris Solari from the Detroit Free Press after Michigan State's 37-34 loss to Illinois here at Spartan Stadium. A game they led 28-3.
You left your house at halftime, you missed it.
Boy, yeah, you didn't see this coming, and they dominated the game for half. 526 total yards, 275 rushing yards in the game. I mean, this was everything they wanted to get going.
Explosive plays that they have not had for 2+ years.
And they were just a better team up front. You saw that, and then sort of the characteristics that have haunted these guys came out, and they came out in a big way. It was almost a caricature of the season in a lot of ways. It was, to watch the pick six, to see the missed tackles. It goes back to the way they defended what was essentially a Hail Mary at the end of the first half with one guy deep who was a young player. I mean, there were a lot of missteps, and I think this is one of those things that this will define the season unless somehow, against all miracles, which I don't see happening, they win next week.
Yeah, I mean, that's what this becomes, a one-game season right now for Michigan State, and that is the Michigan game. I mean, you can say whatever you want. They get bowl eligible if they get 2 more wins in the last 3 games. The final 2 are against Maryland and Rutgers, but will that matter to anybody in the fan base? Will that matter to the alums? The people that Mark Dantonio was asked about, where he said, next question, they're stakeholders in this program, and without beating Michigan, the way the season has transpired, they're pretty frustrated, I think is probably the PG word.
Well, and this is very much, I think one of the fears MSU fans have, and I wrote this in the quick takes, which, by the way, I had to scramble and read. I mean,
we all did. We all had to just completely rewrite that.
It was the worst rewrite I've done since, I think, Penn State when they won on the road last October. That was a disaster. Every time it happens, I think I'm a fraud as a writer, and it comes together quickly, but it was a nightmare. But it was one of those games that was indicative. I think one of the fears is that he'll leave the program about where he found it. And this was indicative of the John L. Smith era. This was that sort of collapse. And it has there's just something missing right now from this group. It's nerve, it's something, it's just not.
Well, what you saw, and I wrote about this on Friday, you saw a team in Illinois that had won 3 straight coming into this game and knew what it was like to win, knew what it was like to win close games when they beat Wisconsin. And you saw a team in Michigan State that had lost 3 games in a row, got blown out, then all of a sudden saw the same things that cost them start to cost them again in the second half, where they couldn't run the ball, they couldn't move the ball on offense, the defense was giving up big plays in that fourth quarter. All of a sudden, you don't have that confidence to say, yeah, we can do this, we can get this. They got one goal line stop after the Lewerke fumble, but then they're put in that situation again after a long drive by Illinois. Talking to a couple of those guys, they said, we fought, but maybe sometimes, like Mark Dantonio says, that how tough are you? Maybe this team isn't that tough.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, he challenged that before this game, and you see what happened late, and there are some structural issues, but it did seem like they just lost their edge in the second half, right?
They
lost it, and you can't do that. This is not a good enough team to do that. And I was impressed with Illinois in the sense that I thought when Illinois got hit the way they did, even though they'd won 3 straight, maybe this is winning is new enough to them that they wouldn't have sort of the resolve and the mettle, within them but they turned out to be the tougher side in that. This was, I think, Brian Lewerke's worst game in a long time, and yet it was also a game that at times he looked great.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's one of those things.
And I think I need to clarify a little bit, too. When I say toughness doesn't mean that these guys aren't tough guys. They don't have a lot of moxie to them. But sometimes that toughness fades when you're tired. And this looks like a team that is tired and doesn't know how to win. And that makes you more tired. That loses your confidence even more.
It was interesting. I asked Antoine Simmons afterwards, because you talked to Raekwon Williams, you talked to Antoine Simmons, you talked to Brian Lewerke, and they seem beaten down by this. They seem like, it's not that they're not upset about it, but they don't seem shell-shocked because they've been through a lot of losing now. It sort of seems almost normal, where this is the sort of loss that ought to leave people just stunned and frustrated a little bit. And Antoine snapped a little bit at that and said, look, no, they are ticked off, they are angry, they are, and I think they are. But I do think this is a team that now I got to be careful. I don't think they've accepted losing, but they've lost a lot, and
they know what it feels like.
They're in a deep, dark place in terms of that, and I don't know what, I don't think that it went wrong at the end. I don't think surprised them. Put it that way, and because I think they've just sort of they're sort of expecting that, and
when you see that, when you see the movie replaying over and over again, and you know the ending, well, the ending's going to be the same.
Yeah, and it's certainly, we've talked a lot. There've been a lot of columns, a lot of things written about Dantonio in this era and all that stuff. But this is, if I were Dantonio, this game here would make me want to come back. Because you do not want this.
This very well might be the worst loss in Mark Dantonio's coaching career, not just at Michigan State.
You don't want this to be the sort of indelible moment
He
going
took
into Michigan.
He took some
next
lumps
week.
at Cincinnati.
Yeah.
But, I mean, to blow a 21-point lead in the fourth quarter when that's been the hallmark of this program, beating opponents that you're supposed to beat and winning at home and protecting the fourth quarter. Remember when they would hold the four fingers up? I mean, all those things coming apart in one game. I mean, it's a lot.
No, and if they lose badly next week, and things could get ugly in Ann Arbor, we don't know what will happen, and then you wind up in a bowl game in Detroit. At the end of this, I just don't. My sense
New
is
York. Any cold weather climate won't be good.
No, but they'd rather be in New York, I think, than Detroit, just given the what that sort of means to the program. I think people want to avoid that. I think Detroit's probably where they'll head, right? 5 and 6. Detroit's been clamoring for. We'll see. That's a long way off. They have bigger issues than that. Who cares where they're bowling at this point? Any other final thoughts on what we saw, where they are?
Well, I mean, we didn't see Chase, our cameraman, get run over.
Yeah,
so that's a plus.
That is a plus.
So there were some positives today, that being one of them. But also, I thought the run game was there. Lewerke looked as good as he has all season in the run game. As did, I thought Elijah Collins looked very good.
Well, they won up front.
I thought the young guys. I mean, 2 true freshmen started on the offensive line, and J.D. Duplain and Nick Zamak, and they got pushed. Something that the offensive line has struggled with. So, how much of that can be sustained the next week against Michigan? I mean, I guess stay tuned.
It starts to become who you are. The way that things went against Arizona State, different scenario, closer game, but the way that you just sort of, this is who you are. It's part of the fabric of this Michigan State team.
Same ending to the movie.
And it ain't good. We'll have plenty of coverage at freep.com, lsj.com. Thanks for watching.